Okay, everyone. So I've given you a few of the drills that I call ghost boxing or shadow boxing within WingChun, where you're working in the self-structure mode, specifically from Yiji Kim Yo Ma, the goat restraining stance. So now what I want to relate to you and cover with you is another drill that I like to do, which basically, again, from Yiji Kim Yo Ma position, coming. Now, you saw how I just moved into Yiji Kim Yo Ma. Here's an added key point I want to share with you. From this position, going into Yiji Kim Yo Ma, and you're coming here and you're bending. Another thing that you can do is circle out and circle out. Now you see my distribution is still 50-50, but this way of positioning into Yiji Kim Yo Ma, I see many of the Shifu from Grandmaster William Chun's traditional Wing Chun Association Federation. I see them perform their modularity, their substructure in this fashion. And quite honestly, I think it's very good because it takes the weight distribution and equally generates pressure on the knee joint equally, 50-50, and as well as on the hip. So I've seen a lot of people that they'll go in and they do this, and then they're locked into the Yiji Kim Yo Ma position, and then their knees are trembling or their knees are buckling because of so much torque and tension being placed on these hamstring muscles and on the thigh muscles, which is good, but let's say you're going to be training for a good 45 minutes to an hour. It gets quite intense, it gets quite painful, and it can be added stress on the tendons and ligaments within the knee joint itself. So I personally recommend that when you're doing these more intensified drills, boom, go into that 1 and 2. Here, 3, boom. It works. It feels good. You're not suffering or struggling in pain. This is a very good position to do your drills from, actually. Again, you're still in that 50-50 weight distribution, and what benefits from this stance is the fact that you can modulate with your heels. You can pick your heels off the ground as well as the heel-toe technique. You'll see this positioning in many of the Filipino martial arts, especially in knife and stick fighting. So I personally, I like the modularity of coming from Yiji Kim Yo Ma, opening the Ma here, and then 1 and 2. I'm at 50-50. I can still drill. I can still move. I can turn. I can shift. I can even come and do kicks. I like the modularity. So that's another thing I want you to practice, especially for all my students and my disciples. I want you to, practice going into this position, coming in here, opening up that Ma, and then after that lifting. Once you're lifting, circle 1, circle 2. Now you're in that mode where you can move your hands, you can fight. So another drill that I want to practice from this modularity, this structure, is using the BLG. And there's 2 ways of shooting that BLG out. I call it underlying and overlaying. Underlying is when you're chambering and you're shooting BLG from a lower level off the self-center line, coming up and raising and striking. And again, when you do this motion, this like climbing up a wall with your hands, you're striking into the throat. It's a soft area of your opponent's body. It's a very preferred target to stop or slow down your opponent. It's a way of taking a lot of the pressure or the agony of dealing with your opponent, because it's going to paralyze your opponent. It's going to take that mindset of trying to forwardly progress, or come at you, come at you, come at you. So my experience, rapid deployment of this technique takes you back to, again, what is known as the Duke Sao formation. Duke Sao meaning poison hand, the poison hands of Wing Chun. So from Yiji Kim Yo Ma, opening and planning, from Yiji Kim Yo Ma, I'm going to come into that Baizhong position. And what I'm going to do is chamber underneath, shoot into the throat. Chamber underneath, shoot into the throat. Chamber underneath, shoot, and chamber underneath, shoot. So it'd be 1, 2, and 1. 1, 2, and 2. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 4. And 1, 2, and 5. And 1, 2, and 6. And 1, 2, and 7. And 1, 2, and 8. So again, striking using the fingertips, searching like a cobra, like a snake, going right in to the opponent's eyes or into the tray. And again, this is a self-structure mode from Yiji Kim Yo Ma, practicing underline. Now, once you've developed the underlying, where you're tucking under and feeding out, practice overlaying. Overlaying basically from a Baizhong position means you are now chambering, but you're coming on the top of the extension and on top of the striking arm. So on every repetition cycle, instead of striking underneath, you're now going to come, like, instead of coming under and over, you're going to just come over on each strike, over. So it'd be like 1, 2, 3, and 1, 1, 2, 3, and 2, and 1, 2, 3, and 3, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 5, and 1, 2, 3, and 6, and 1, 2, 3, and 7, and 1, 2, 3, and 8. Again, eyes, throat, softer areas of the body. The same drill, same position, from Yiji Kim Yo Ma, coming here, as if you were praying, but this time your hands are going to be separated. They're not going to touch. They're right here. And what you're going to do is start off with the left hand or the right, but preferably the left. Most people are right-handed, so I would say, your military left. So you start off with the left and you go 1, back, and 2, back. 1 and 2, back. Now notice when I come in, I travel in, up, at the last second, snapping the wrist, down. Okay, so it's like 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, 6, 1, 7, 1, 8, 1, 9, and 1, 10. Striking for the eye or into the clavicle, this open space right here between the clavicle bone and to the back of the shoulder, going back between the clavicle and the scapula. That area is usually a soft area of tissue, but more so, it takes you towards the subclavian artery, which is right here. And keep in mind that the carotid artery, or the so-called jugular vein, is right there as well. That is a meridian. It is a pressure point strike. You may not knock the guy out. However, if you apply it and practice it, if you apply it proficiently and effectively, it's going to take a lot of the steam out of the fight. I've used it myself personally in self-defense, coming in, and I've used it striking into the carotid artery, shooting it straight. And mostly if you follow that, the BLG strike, if you do an initial strike and then follow in with the BLG, usually the combat effectiveness is elevated and it transcends and becomes more effective, even more announced, more powerful. You know, so for an example is like if I throw WingChun and I strike my opponent in his septum, in his nose, and then all of a sudden I come around and I go wham, and I hit him with the BLG into the carotid artery on the side of his neck. I've shot two meridians, or two vulnerable areas, which is going to unstabilize and unbalance his perception as to what's really transpiring in that altercation, into that fight. So again, if like I'm fighting and I go wham, and I hit him with a palm strike, right? And then I hit him with Landa Chakin, a hook punch, I come in, bam, and the BLG's right there. That is how it's used. That's how BLG takes its part within the game, in the puzzle, in the structure, in the anatomy, and the psychology that's being used when you use these techniques in combat. So in substructure mode, just keep in mind, practicing here, shooting in soft area, and once you get the modularity of that strike, keep repeating it, keep working on it, because that's how you're going to become more effective and more efficient, and you're going to be more adaptable in combat as to knowing when you move towards applied structure as to when to use it, how to use it, and how to integrate it into your footwork, how to catch your opponent off guard. I call that sleeping. If he's sleeping and he's not being observant to what you're doing, and you catch him in that sleeping mode where, oh, he don't see it, wham, and then you hit him with the BLG, you know, it can be a very resourceful means of self-defense in a fight that you don't want to carry out and make it last long. In WingChun, we always say that BLG never leaves the door. In other words, when the Sifu teaches this art form, these techniques, or takes you to the level of BLG, it's usually taught to the Sifu's most devoted students, you know, and those are those specific disciples who have been understudies of that teacher for maybe a good 7 to 10 years, maybe even longer. Again, keep in mind, you know, that you have to develop and strengthen your hands as well when you're using these type of strikes. But all of this, the consistency is all contained within the WingChun system. You will first see, you know, the deployment of BLG in the Chum-Kyu form when you first start in Chum-Kyu, you hear, boom, and you come in. And then the turning, you see the use of BLG. You will see BLG also used in a technique from self-structure mode, for example, coming here, opening. Now I'm in Hiji Kim Yong Ma, right? So let's say I'm in a Baijang position. Another way of employing this is coming in with a bong, and then from that bong sao, shooting the BLG across the center line, okay? And then coming back and shooting BLG again across the center line. So I'm doing a bong, BLG, BLG. I'm coming back with bong, BLG, BLG. I'm coming back with a bong, and BLG, BLG. And I come back with the bong, intercepting with the bong, and then from there I shoot Bilji and Bilji. And you notice how I'm chambering under the armpit. Bong shooting under the structure of the bong sao. So it's a bong sao, the wu sao shifts it, wham, it shoots forward. I come in, bong, I shoot. And then I come right back and I shoot. Okay? So I'm crossing the line. So play with that, practice that, and I will be back to you again shortly in the near future here, and I'm going to just keep adding on to these substructure mode exercises. And then I will also be integrating some of the applied structure modes. I'll show you some of the drills that I do, exercises on bag, heavy bag or punching bag, as well as on Charlie Kong in the corner over here, which you can't see right now. But as we move along, I'm going to keep interjecting with some of the information, giving you a little bit more and a little bit more. Okay, so thank you for your time, and I appreciate your attention and your patience. Doje, stay safe.